Kevin De Bruyne is leaving Man City. It's a very, very sad day. We're going to break down his legacy in the Premier League, where he ranks amongst the greatest midfielders in the history of Premier League football. And of course, who could come in to replace De Bruyne and how Man City move forward. From De Bruyne, for 7 or 8 seasons now, every single game he played, he brought the highest level of quality I've ever seen from the midfield position ever in my lifetime. Now, I've seen Gerrard, I've seen Lampard, I've seen Roy Keane, Vieira. De Bruyne on some level brought all of those qualities combined in one, with the kind of David Silva element of control, of trickery. All round as a midfielder, I think he ranks at least number 3 in the history of Premier League midfielders. His passing ability was unmatched. His crossing as good as David Beckham's. His statistics, his numbers, absolutely outrageous. I'm going to break them down in a minute. His goals, the striking from long range, his finishing, when you put him in the box, you could argue he could be a number 9 with some of his finishing. Absolutely outrageous. As a total package, I think he is the greatest player in the history of Man City. I think he ranks above Aguero for me now. And I think he goes alongside Colin Bell. It's outrageous how good he is. I remember when I first watched him when he came under Pellegrini. There were a few games against PSG in the Champions League where he took Man City to the latter rounds of the Champions League for the first time in the club's history. He was young. He was in his early 20s. He'd come from Wolfsburg. Phil Thompson on Sky Sports slagging him off famously for the price tag. And surely it is one of the greatest transfers in the history of football. You know, we're talking, 50 million pounds, and you're talking so many trophies. Let's reel them off. 16 major titles, 6 Premier League titles. That's double the likes of someone like Frank Lampard. I mean, 6 titles in such a short amount of time is incredible. The first domestic treble in the history of English football. The second treble in the history of English football. And he was a big part of all of those seasons. We're talking 4 League Cups, 2 FA Cups, potentially a third this season as well. 100-point season, 98-point season, and he was basically at the part of every single one of those seasons. So when you do a video like this, and there'll be loads of Man City fans, loads of people in the media talking about De Bruyne's legacy, it might not be as easy as maybe Gerrard in Istanbul, or maybe other big final goals from certain players, maybe Vieira in FA Cup finals, for example, because De Bruyne's legacy was so exceptional for such a long amount of time that it's actually hard to get into it and break up one moment that stands out, because there's so many good moments. I watched him score a weak foot hat-trick against Wolves at the start of May when Arsenal were only a couple of points behind Man City in a crunch game. Massive game away at Wolves, and they were a decent Wolves side as well. Neto was fantastic that day. He scores a weak foot hat-trick, scores 4 goals in one game in a title race decider. And if you look back at those goals, outstanding. So what I look in De Bruyne is a big game player consistently for 6 or 7 years, and I think he revolutionised Man City. And there is a bit of a sad element to him leaving as well, because it feels like the last of his generation. He obviously kind of has been playing with someone like Marmoush, with Erling Haaland, the newer breed of Man City players that are going to take the club forward, but obviously play with the likes of Vincent Kompany, David Silva, Yaya Toure, and Sergio Aguero. So he's kind of been this bridge from different generations and brought so much success. The Club World Cup is another thing as well, something that obviously Man City had never won before. These are incredible moments, and De Bruyne's legacy, again, I don't think he'll be talked about favourably in the right way. I don't. He won't get the same coverage that Roy Keane gets, Ryan Giggs gets, maybe even Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard gets. I think that's down to a Man City thing. I think Man City are, for whatever reason, not put on the same sporting merit as these other clubs, and De Bruyne's legacy might get a little bit diluted because of that. And I'm not being biased when I say technically, just take away the trophies, technically what this guy could do. He could control a game of football. He could his ability to pass the ball from long ranges. I mean, one of the first times I ever saw him in Guardiola's first season, he gets the ball, he chests it down, he half volleys it about 60 yards to Raheem Sterling, who scores against Arsenal. This is 8 years ago now. I mean, it was outrageous when he came from Wolfsburg, how good he was so quickly. And it's absolutely scary. I think we'll look back at his legacy again. It'll be hard for non-Man City fans to judge it because he gets injured against Rudiger in the Champions League final against Chelsea. He isn't able to influence the Champions League final and get City, obviously our first European Cup back in the day. And then when he gets injured again in Istanbul against Inter Milan, Phil Foden comes on and does a fantastic job. But De Bruyne was so frustrated. I remember Guardiola had to go over to him and kind of console him a little bit. Obviously, City had won the treble in that game with a Rodri goal. But you could see, I was lucky enough to be in the stadium, you could see De Bruyne's frustration that maybe as a great player, that he knows he's a great player, he wasn't able to influence things to the way that he would have wanted. Obviously, a few moments later, he's exuberant, he's gassed, he's lifting up the Champions League trophy. But you can see it in his eyes, maybe at the Champions League final, it got away from him a couple of times because he was so unlucky with injuries in those 2 games. But we're talking about a guy who's got a better Premier League legacy than Salah. He's a better footballer than Salah. He defined this era of Premier League football far more than Salah. 100%, 6 titles in 10 years. Salah's got 1 in 7. I'm not bringing in Salah for the sake of it. I mean, Salah's a great player. But if you're talking about the players of this era, De Bruyne is number 1 by country mile. And if you want to talk about in the history of the Premier League, it gets a little bit more difficult, of course, when you throw in the likes of Beckham, Gerrard, Giggs, Keane, Vieira, Lampard. But certainly in the last 10 years, unless I'm wrong, you have to let me know in the comments, number 1 player in the Premier League in the last decade. There's no question about it. In the treble-winning season, 8 goals, 16 assists. In 1920, it wasn't a very successful Man City side. It was a bit of a side that was in transition. We're talking 13 goals, 20 assists, equaling Thierry Henry's record. He hit 50 and 100 Premier League assists quicker than anyone else. It's absolutely outrageous. And a stat that I love the most that people don't really talk about is 11 goals, 13 assists in Champions League knockout football, more than any other player from Premier League history, more than Wayne Rooney, more than Thierry Henry, more than Dennis Bergkamp, more than Eric Cantona. This is Kevin De Bruyne coming from midfield, driving with the ball, scoring big goals all the time. And I'd argue his biggest goal, treble-winning season, Real Madrid score against Man City, and De Bruyne from 25 yards out in that red and black kit at the Bernabeu, equalising 1-1. It was so important, and it gave Man City the platform for a 4-0 win at the Etihad, arguably one of the most famous victories in the history of English football in knockout football in the Champions League, because 4-0 demolition of Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final, it literally never happens, and De Bruyne made it happen with that goal in the Bernabeu. So yeah, I mean, it's a sad day for the club. It doesn't surprise me. I think this season his numbers haven't been bad. We're talking less than 20 starts, but something like 4 goals, 7 assists, something like that this season, which isn't bad, especially when the whole side is misfiring. But you're talking about a guy whose legs have gone, the injuries have built up, that he isn't quite able to influence things with his physicality. Think about those goals against Arsenal in the treble-winning season where he just bursts through, he beats the man, and then he's finishing things from just outside the box, or when he's lobbing the keeper at the Emirates. That burst of pace, he's certainly lost that, and that's unfortunate. I still think he's got a lot of technical ability. He's going to have to find a slower league, whether that's MLS, that's a real drop-off, or maybe it's Italian football. He could do a job in Italian football, there's no question about it. Or maybe it's Saudi Arabian football to kind of get the bag, and you wouldn't blame him for what he's done in the Premier League. He's put his body through a lot. Obviously, reports coming out in the treble-winning season that he was playing through a hamstring injury, which, you are putting your body on the line, and De Bruyne certainly did that. And there'll be people criticising the way he went off against Rudiger, the way he went off against Inter Milan, as if he's a little bit soft. That word will be thrown around a lot. De Bruyne was not soft. He was far more robust and physical and combative than a lot of people will give him credit for. And it's a real sad day. I think it's right for the club now, particularly when you drop this message. City have got really only the FA Cup to fight for. Him going out at Wembley with City back in the Champions League guaranteed would be a really, really nice way to go. 3 FA Cups, 3 FA Cup finals in a row, potentially, if City can get past Nottingham Forest, which is a really difficult game, of course. And it's a beautiful swan song. I'm sure we would have liked the European Cup for him to leave on, or a Premier League title, but an FA Cup is still so special. He's already won it twice. To win 3 FA Cups would be special as well for him. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about who should come in to replace him. But look, Marmoush has come in. I think it's probably settled down any rumours of a De Bruyne contract extension. There were rumours that he dropped down to 150k a week from his big 300k plus salary right now to keep him for one more year. You're not needing that now. I think Marmoush has been absolutely electric. Scored so many goals already since January. You feel that you could play Rodri, Marmoush, and another one. Maybe it's someone like Florian Wirtz coming in. Obviously, Musiala's been linked to the last couple of years. That's obviously very unlikely to happen. But someone like Florian Wirtz coming in. Pedri from Barcelona has been linked. These are big names. It's not an easy transfer. But I think De Bruyne being phased out, it frees up a lot of money. And I think you've got to go again. I think Pep's got that 2-year contract. He'll be looking to create a platform for, it's almost Pep Guardiola 3.0 now at Man City. He's been here so long. And De Bruyne being the final piece of the jigsaw, it's sad, really. It's sad to see him leave. And it is right on the sporting level, unfortunately, because of his lack of physicality in the last few weeks. It has been a little bit concerning, if not a little bit sad, of how quick his legs have gone after that second big injury this season. Very keen to what you think in the comments down below about De Bruyne's legacy. It's Vieira, it's Keane, different positions probably. You know, De Bruyne, I think he's probably ahead of Gerrard in terms of Premier League legacy. He's certainly ahead of Lampard in terms of technical ability and Premier League legacy. He's in and around second or third. I think he's got more technical ability than Roy Keane as well. But that's just my opinion. I'll see you very, very soon. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you made it this far. And let me know your thoughts on Kevin De Bruyne.